Welcome. I'm Dr. Mike DeBord, president of B3 Sciences. This is our Sundays with Dr. Mike, where we are discussing different topics that are affecting people all across the country. Things like weight loss, heart health, pain. We're going to be talking about pain. Just some amazing stories continue to come in of people with pain that's being reduced or eliminated very quickly. But tonight, we're going to talk about blood sugar health. This is one of the three big ones. The three big ones are high blood pressure, atherosclerosis, diabetes, and now a new category, insulin resistance. And we're going to talk about how this new exercise technology is a breakthrough and is going to be a game changer. And it already is changing the game for so many people with poor blood sugar and metabolism. U.S. Department of Health. Vigorous exercise. Kids need 60 minutes a day. Adults, 300 minutes per week. Older adults, 150 minutes per week. Pay attention to the key word here. Vigorous exercise. No offense, pickleball players, but this isn't going out and playing pickleball for 2 or 3 hours, right? This isn't going to your local yoga studio unless it's a professional, yoga class. Vigorous exercise. We're going to define that. That's one of the biggest misconceptions out there in health today. We have a society that believes they can go for a walk the dog, mow the yard, and get the benefits of vigorous exercise. Secret to health and longevity. Look what Harvard is saying. 6 days a week, we need exercise. They also mention these key words, serious or vigorous aerobic exercise, vigorous strength training with weights every day. What is strength training? Very simply, you need to feel the burn. And everybody has heard these terms, aerobic exercise, slow twitch muscle fibers. When you do light exercise or walking or cardio, you're working slow twitch muscle fibers that are aerobic. They use oxygen. That's the first part of what the government and this book is talking about, Harvard, vigorous aerobic exercise. But the other side of the equation, anaerobic, that is weightlifting or explosion type exercises like you see the guy there banging the ropes, or Tammy there that's getting ready to lift some weights with the BFR bands. Fast twitch muscle fibers are anaerobic, meaning they use little to no oxygen, and instead their source for fuel, meaning the fuel that's used so you can contract these muscles, so you can lift that weight, is glycogen, which very simply is sugar. Now, why is it called glycogen instead of sugar? Because sugar is ingested, goes into your blood, and then it has many functions in the body, okay? About 30% of that sugar is meant to be converted in your liver to glycogen and be placed in the muscle. Let's review one more time. Government, Harvard, everybody agrees we need strength training. We need to work our fast twitch muscle fibers. The fuel for those fibers is glycogen or anaerobic. Where does glycogen come from? Approximately 25 to 30% of your dietary intake converts sugar. That 25 to 30% of that sugar is meant to go into the liver and be converted to glycogen so your muscles can be fueled so that they can work, meaning sugar converted. What does weight training do? Weight training, when you feel the burn, you are burning that glycogen or using it for a fuel source, and hence you are improving or optimizing or doing what you were intended to do for sugar metabolism. One more time, one of the very important parts of blood sugar. And why is this important? So you can explain it. A big part of your sugar that you intake is to be converted to glycogen so your muscles, your fast twitch muscles, can do this vigorous strength training. Look what WebMD says. When you do strength training exercise, meaning lift weights, this is not walking the dog, this isn't yoga, this isn't pickleball, this isn't playing golf, this isn't going for a bike ride, this isn't doing a Zumba class, okay? This isn't going up and down your steps. When you do strength training, you use weights to feel the burn in your muscles, you use more glucose from the sugar in your bloodstream, meaning your body is now taking that sugar out of the bloodstream into the liver and converting it to replenish the glycogen that you are using. So strength training exercise has already been proved. This is universally accepted that it lowers your blood sugar or maintains healthy blood sugar levels, and it makes the insulin work better in your body. Now, what's insulin do? Everybody hears this. Insulin's job is to recognize that you have ingested through your diet some sugar, some pasta, some sugar, some soda, some pop, some fruits, some vegetables, carbohydrates. Insulin then converts that sugar into a usable form of energy. One of those forms is glycogen. So your body recognizes that you've ingested carbohydrates or sugar. Your pancreas releases insulin. Now, the insulin needs to be able to be converting this sugar. What would happen if you never did strength training? Meaning you never used the glycogen in your muscles. The body would not have anywhere to put this 25 to 30% of your sugar. Let's take one more example. You consume 100 grams of carbohydrates or sugar. 70 of those grams are used for normal function, breathing, just like I'm talking right now. You're sitting upright, okay? You're burning sugar. Your brain is functioning. You're breathing. Those are all things that use some sugar. But of those 100 grams, 30 grams is supposed to be used, approximately 30, to replenish the glycogen that you are designed, that you are told, and you are supposed to be using with your regular strength training. Strength training is not a once a week, it's not a once a year, it's not a when you're a kid, it's your entire life, okay? When you don't do this, this is how you get adult onset diabetes, or what they now call insulin resistance. Listen to what WebMD says. You can go look this up. Insulin resistance is when your cells in your muscles, fat and liver, don't respond well to insulin and can't use glucose from the blood for energy. What does that mean? That means your muscles are full of glycogen, meaning the body can't put any more glycogen in there. You have not been using it. And thus, the body can't use this glucose, this 25, 30% I'm talking about. Your body's got nothing to do with it. So you're not exercising. You're not doing strength training. You're not using the glycogen, okay? Now, you start to get older. You get into your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, okay? And your glucose metabolism system starts to break down. And you're not doing strength training. You eat a diet that has carbohydrates, even potatoes, pasta, fruits, and vegetables, and all of a sudden, your pancreas is doing what it's supposed to do. It's releasing insulin, but there's nowhere to put this glycogen. And then the body rejects it. Or in other words, the insulin's released, but the cells that use the insulin to convert this sugar have nowhere to put it. There's no need to replenish any glycogen in your fast twitch muscle fibers. You're not doing anything. And again, you're not going to do this with golf, okay? You're not going to do this with light exercise, and you get insulin resistance. Or in other words, your body can't use the glucose and the insulin to convert it. And it's basically a rejection. Your body's rejecting it. And now this sugar starts circulating in your body where it's not supposed to be, and you start getting problems. WebMD calls it very simply, physical inactivity rapidly induces insulin resistance. Science Daily, vigorous high intensity interval training. What are they talking about? Weightlifting, rapidly improves diabetics' glucose metabolism. Take that in for a second. They're not saying that weight training over time will slowly improve your glucose. No, they're saying high intensity interval training. As soon as you start training your fast twitch muscle, as soon as you start feeling the burn, it's like immediately your glucose metabolism. Why? Because all of a sudden, now you need to put some glycogen back into the muscles. Now the insulin is accepted. You eat the sugar, the insulin's released. The body says, oh, I can use this insulin. I need to put some glycogen back in my muscles, and the insulin resistance goes away. And here's the only challenge I have to our health industry, our medical industry. We need to stop calling these diseases that makes people think I'm stuck. I can't fix this. When the reality is, and the science says, you can absolutely reverse insulin resistance if you will start doing high intensity exercise. So at 2015, I was 52 years old. Okay. I was what I call out of the game. Couldn't lift weights anymore. Was tired. Wasn't sleeping good. Had 3 joints replaced. More were hurting. I was losing muscle. And I had poor glucose metabolism. Now, I didn't have diabetes yet, but I already had some of the symptoms, right? Why? Because at 52, I can't lift heavy weights anymore. Most people can't do this their entire lives because of the stress we've put our body through. Very simply, I felt like I was 52. I was operating on low growth hormone and low nitric oxide and poor glucose metabolism. Look at this chart over here. This is a growth hormone chart, and it also is very similar to what nitric oxide looks like in your body. When you're 18 years old, everything's great. You've got high levels of nitric oxide and growth hormone. By the time you're in your mid-20s, it's down to about half. Look at me out there at 52. I'm down to almost a third of the natural nitric oxide and growth hormone that I was getting as an 18-year-old. This is why the government, the health associations, the scientists, Harvard tell you you need to maintain vigorous exercise because it will elevate these substances that are naturally decreasing with age. What does that mean? That means you've got a natural release. At night, you get some growth hormone. But at 52, I'm getting very little. But I can still get it from vigorous exercise. Okay? Everything slows down with age. And if you're not doing exercise, you're looking at aging changes, body composition changes. That was me, number 2. My knees and joints were all hurting. I'd already replaced 3 joints, right? My blood pressure was starting to creep up. I was up about 128, okay, over like 85. Not danger, but it was starting to creep up. Now I'm down to like 116 over 75, 7 years later. Insulin resistance was starting to creep in. I had some of the signs. By now, I probably would have insulin resistance if I would not have intervened with BFR, hypothyroidism, bone density, brain degenerative problems. So what happened? Dr. Jim Straygunderson calls me. He says, Mike, I found this new technology in Japan. All the Japanese athletes are doing it. We thought they were cheating. I know you're all banged up, but I found a solution for your challenges. I'm doing it. Imagine exercising in half the time. 4, 5, 8, 6, 10 minutes. Imagine using light weights that doesn't hurt, especially with your joints that are beat up. Imagine being able to get the burn in your muscles without beating up your body and elevating nitric oxide and growth hormone. And then through my research and the studies, I learned it'll even correct my blood sugar metabolism. And very simply, I would go back in time. So he comes over to my house. I'm like, sure, come on over. You know, what have I got to lose? I thought this was crazy. He walks in and he pulls these bands out of the bag and he starts putting them on my arms. And I'm thinking, what in the world is he doing? What are these crazy bands things? And he puts some air in them. right? And I start doing some bicep curls. He had me do what I now call the 3-minute guns. It's a light exercise where you do some biceps and some triceps. And we have 5-year-olds doing it, and we have 85 to 90-year-olds doing it. Anybody can do it. But here's the difference. Look at that picture in the middle. I'm using little 3-pound pink dumbbells. Okay, look at this next picture. Oh, I don't have a picture there, but I'm using little 3-pound pink dumbbells. And I get to the first set of 30 and my arms are starting to burn. And it blew my mind. It reminded me of lifting heavy weights in the gym. By the third set, my arms were absolutely on fire. And I go in the bathroom and I flex my arms. My jaw about hit the floor. Could not believe what I was feeling. BFR. And then he said, Mike, we're not done. He puts these bands on my leg and he says, here, you do it. So I hook up the pump. I put some air in it. I do 3 sets of air squats. He says, let's go, Mike, do 30. And I'm like, okay, how much weight? Do I need to grab some weights? He says, no weight. I said, oh, come on, you got to be kidding. Jim, I'm not 80 years old, right? I can do squats with maybe 100 pounds. Nope, no weight needed. Do my first set. I get to 30. My legs are on fire. Can't believe what I'm feeling. By the third set, I could only do 10 or 15. I reach down and my knee is not hurting. My other knee that I've not gotten replaced that has arthritis was not hurting. I can't even go up and down the steps at 52 without my knee hurting, let alone do some squats, and the knee pain went away. What did I do? I did the 4-minute buns workout that we now do. There's Mary Wellman over there on the right. There's me on the left. I did this exercise in Las Vegas yesterday with about 35 awesome people. And we had people with all health levels, all challenges, all conditions. We even had a former NFL player in there. And he barely could get through this. Everybody doing air squats and rear leg kicks. And everybody's leg was on fire. Back to 2015, I look over at Jim. I'm like, Jim, what the heck just happened? Hence the term, what the B3 is happening to exercise. What the B3 is happening to people like Mary Wellman and Gaylord, okay, and Janine and Chris and Lana Stevenson's daughter and Larry. What the B3 is happening to people with this light exercise. Well, I'll tell you what's happening. You're turning on nitric oxide. Let's go back to the beginning of our explanation, and then we're going to get to blood sugar. When you do aerobic exercise and you create hypoxia, or you use up oxygen really fast in your muscle. Now, you can't go for a walk and do this, can't get on the treadmill for 30 minutes. You can get on the Peloton, and then every time you climb on a Peloton, right, and come back down, you release some nitric oxide. Why? Because you're using more oxygen than is available. The bands that you see on my arms and legs right there, they safely reduce oxygen for you. Or in other words, you don't have to do all the work to create this fatigue. Let me repeat this. What if our entire country, all the people we love and care about, no longer had to do all the hard work? What if there was a hack or a cheat or a trick, okay, and it was completely safe? That is B3 bands. And it stimulates nitric oxide. This is why you feel energy. This is why your joints start hurting. This is why after 2 to 3 sets of air squats, my knee was not hurting. I was able to exercise vigorously enough in aerobic exercise to release nitric oxide. And then the most powerful substance in the world, nothing has ever been discovered in science, in nature, that we can manufacture and provide it to the human body that has the effect of growth hormone. This is a study on men in their 50s doing light bicep exercises like these right here that I'm doing with light weights, increasing growth hormone by 25 times. Not 25%, mind you, 25 times increase in growth hormone. Let me put this in perspective. Most people go through their whole life and never experience this. Now, people like Amy Hawkins, Bob Poston, David Weatherspoon, Deidre, Helen, okay, Larry, Linda, Mark, Sheila, Susan, Dr. West, Gaylord, Tammy, we are all getting Olympic level growth hormone every time we put the bands on. Why? Because we are able to create the burn. Remember in the part of our explanation, fast twitch muscle fibers feel the burn, turn on growth hormone. We're able to create the burn. And then we use glycogen. Let's go back to have an effective blood sugar metabolism, or to control your blood sugar when you get in your middle ages and everything slows down. You have to work strength training, lift weights, feel the burn, or do the bands, BFR bands, and do a third of the work and never hurt. Okay? In a study that I pulled, they compared moderate to high intensity exercise, or very simply, two groups doing strength training. One's not really feeling the burn. The other group is feeling the burn. It's the difference between moderate and high intensity exercise. The group that did moderate, meaning people who do exercise and don't feel that good, wonderful burn, only achieve half the improvement in blood sugar metabolism. So you're playing sports, you're doing pickleball, you're going to the gym, you're taking a course, you got a trainer, and maybe you feel a little burn, but it's not a long burn like you would get with high intensity exercise. You're not getting much improvement in blood sugar metabolism. In a study in the Scandinavian Journal of Medicine, they took people and did 10 sessions of exercise. Now, what was the exercise? It wasn't strength training. It was walking on treadmills at a moderate intensity. Let me repeat this. They have BFR bands on, and they're not doing strength training. They're not doing bench presses, push-ups, deadlifts, squats, big dumbbells. They're not hurting the next day. They're doing walking with the bands, which slows down oxygen, activates the fast twitch muscle fibers, and then uses up the glycogen in the muscle. The result, look at the result. This technology, BFR, B3 bands, is beneficial for people in the pre-diabetic, insulin resistance, or who already have diabetes, type 1, who may not be able to sustain, what do the three words say there? It doesn't say pickleball or golf or walk the dog, high intensity exercise. They're saying for people like Dr. Mike DeBord at 52 years old who can't lift heavy weights, this is the perfect solution. And I started doing it and my whole world changed. And if you've been doing it, your whole world changed. And I literally went backwards 25 years. Can you imagine what's going to happen when the people you love, you care about, go back in time? Gaylord, okay? Approaching 70, playing golf like he's 45 years old. Debbie Hawkins, no more hip pain, right? She doesn't walk around anymore with a bad limp. She's literally chasing her grandchildren down the hall, okay? Greg Whitehead, Greg's on here, put all his muscle back on. Used to be a former Mr. Indiana bodybuilder, back when he could slam the heavy weights. It's got all that muscle back, lifting light weights. This technology is unlike anything we have ever seen, and I believe it is the greatest discovery in the history of health or human performance. Why? And no offense to the pharmaceutical industry. Pills have a wonderful place, right? But this isn't faking or stimulating your body with a foreign substance, right? This isn't doing something that the body wasn't meant to do. This is tapping into exactly what you're supposed to do. And I put it right up there with the three pillars. Get some sleep, have a decent diet, get some vigorous exercise. You do those three things, and you're going